Hello and welcome everyone, it's AMAC50000 here, and you may be wondering where I've been for the past year. Well, I've been holding up in this hidden bunker as a part of a scientific experiment to see how long it will take before I go mad. Spoilers, didn't work. Already crazy. But now I'm ready to return to society. Let me just check the old news first. While I've been in the bunker, I didn't have access to any media, or the internet, or the news, so it couldn't hurt to check it before I head out there, but I'm sure not much has changed. After all, I've only been in here for, good God, man, I'm not going out there. So, apparently the world decided to suck, and now we all have to stay inside. Staying inside is so boring. But it's saving lives, so we have to. But let's look on the bright side. For the first time in history, staying inside all day and playing video games 24/7 is not only socially acceptable, but is the responsible thing to do. And the platform that many people have chosen to play games on is this, the Nintendo Switch. Yep, the Nintendo Switch. With its flexibility, easy co-op, and huge library, including the recently released Animal Crossing, it is the perfect stay-at-home console. There's just one problem. It's sold out. Everywhere. Yeah, Nintendo was just as surprised as all of us with the recent events, and they didn't make enough of these suckers to go around. The only way I get one now is to either wait for a restock, which, given the current circumstances, might take a little bit, or pay almost double the original price to get it from a reseller. So, that being the case, people have begun looking for other consoles to play. One of those being Nintendo's previous device. Oh yeah, you know the one. It had fantastic design, great virtual console, and one of the best libraries of games on any Nintendo system. That's right, I'm talking about the 3DS. The 3DS is a handheld console that released in 2011 as a continuation of Nintendo's DS line. Like the original DS, it had two screens, with the bottom being a touchscreen, but this time, the top screen also had a trick up its sleeve. That's right, glasses-free 3D, and on a handheld. This was mind-blowing back then. I still remember having to use the colored glasses to see things in 3D. It really sucked having to use those, but now we never have to use them again. So did it work? Was it the key of the future that we all dreamed it would be? Well, the votes have been cast, and the verdict is, oh, that's disappointing. Yeah, the 3D didn't really add anything to the console or its games. It was really annoying to look at while you played, and even if you did like it, it didn't really work the best. Luckily, you can turn it off, which I and most of the civilized world usually do while we play. It got so bad that even Nintendo started getting the memo, and they started releasing versions of the device where there's just no 3D at all. And even in their later games, if you want to play them in 3D, you can't, they don't support it. So the 3D on the system is not really that good. But do you want to know what about the device is really good? Everything else! Let's start with the build quality of the system itself. It is well made and durable. All of its buttons feel super clicky and responsive, and the answer to everyone's prayers has come. It has an analog stick, which, while unconventional, is still excellent and allows for great movement in 3D environments. Not to mention the interface. Oh, the interface is terrific. It's always easy to find things, and you can customize it to be whatever way you want. You can move applications around, you can even add a special background. Another great feature is the eShop, which was fantastic. It had so many unique titles that you couldn't find on any other platform. Not to mention that unlike the Switch, the 3DS continues with Nintendo's proud tradition of having a strong virtual console selection of older games to play. For the first time, Game Boy and Game Boy Color games were available for download in addition to NES games. And the Game Gear if you're into that kind of stuff. In terms of power, I put this thing a little bit below the level of the GameCube. Unlike Nintendo's previous handheld offerings, the 3DS can actually handle 3D environments. I mean, sure, in the past, there were some 3D titles in systems like the DS, but I said handle them well, not handle them well like this. Oh, and don't even get me started on Doom for the Game Boy Advanced. It's clear that the system was made for this type of gameplay, and it handles it extraordinarily well. So the 3DS is a superbly designed system with a fantastic interface that's powerful enough to play a wide variety of games. But none of that really matters, because the only thing that's important with the game system, when it comes down to it, is the games. So how does the 3DS stack up? Oh buddy, oh boy. Let me show ya. The 3DS's library is not only fantastic, but what I consider to be one of the best libraries in gaming history. A matter of fact, if all you're looking for is a Switch replacement, then the 3DS has you covered. With the exception of Splatoon, the 3DS has entries for almost all of Nintendo's core IPs that define the Switch. I would even argue that some of the 3DS entries are better, and that's not even counting all the original titles on it. Don't believe me? Fine, I'll show you. Starting with the titles that pretty much replace the titles on the Switch. Upset you can't play New Horizons? Don't worry, the 3DS has got you covered with Animal Crossing New Leaf. This entry put you in the position of mayor and let you change various things in the town. This was a big step forward in the franchise, and some still consider this the best Animal Crossing game. Personally, while I love New Horizons, it changed a lot with the crafting and the terraforming. If you're looking for a pure, relaxing Animal Crossing experience, the New Leaf is by far the best. Fire Emblem had an extremely strong presence on the system, with 2 main entries, a remake, and a side game not many people played. While I played Fates the most, I'm pretty sure I'd be killed in my sleep if I didn't talk about Awakening. When this game came out, the series wasn't doing too hot, and this was the last chance to save it before it was laid down for good. Not only did it save the series, but it cemented Fire Emblem as one of Nintendo's core franchises. It was just that good. Even today, when I ask my friends who are more into the series than me what their favorite Fire Emblem game is, 9 times out of 10 they'll say Awakening. It's just that good. Feel like you're missing out on all the Mario action? Oh boy, I have a system for you. Mario Kart 7 started a lot of the features that you see in 8, and has a surprisingly active online multiplayer. Mario 3D Land, while not being as big as Odyssey, is still a great 3D Mario game, oozing with Nintendo charm. You want Mario Maker? You got Mario Maker. And let me just pull up my list of meaningful differences between New Super Mario Bros. 2 and New Super Mario Bros. On Switch. Oh yeah, that's right. It is actually really surprising how good Smash Bros. For the 3DS is. Gameplay-wise, it's very similar to the Switch version, except at a slightly slower pace. Now, I'm sure all you pro players out there will leave me a list of differences in the comments, but honestly, when I play it, it just feels like Ultimate in handheld mode. Now, you may think that the small screen and lower resolution of the 3DS wouldn't work with a game like Smash Bros., but it does. All the characters have outlines, making them easier to see, and various visual effects help to show what's going on. It also has features not seen even in Ultimate, such as Smash Run and Target Blast, only to name a few. It's online while laggy is still very active, making it a great alternative for anyone unable to get it on Switch. Are you a Zelda nut? Well then let me introduce you to A Link Between Worlds. This sequel to an SNES classic, A Link to the Past, is not as influential of the series as its predecessor, but it was equally as well received. Seriously, when this thing came out, people were saying it was one of the best Zeldas of all time. It managed to take classic Zelda gameplay and introduce various new elements to create an entirely unique experience. Oh, and also you can turn into a painting in this one, which is pretty cool. But hey, if 3D Zelda's more your thing, then you'll be happy to know that 2 of the best games in the series were remade for the 3DS. That's right, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, both considered masterpieces on the N64, have been brought to the 3DS in what's arguably their best form. These games were given updated graphics, new content, and various changes to modernize them. These games were a massive leap forward for the Zelda series, and the updates make these remakes still fun to play today. Now, some of you youngins might not remember, but up until very recently, Pokemon was almost entirely a handheld series. The 3DS, being the series' send-off to consoles, did not pull any punches. Including spin-offs and virtual console games, there are over 20 Pokemon games for the system. Even if we only count new mainline entries, there are still 4 new games with 2 versions of each of them. That's 3 regions to explore, and 152 new Pokemon. Not to mention Z-moves and Mega Evolutions, it's just, oh my god, it's a lot. So, which Pokemon game is the best for you? Well, let's see. X and Y are the main series' first leap into 3D, and while a little light on post-game content, were a good step for the series. The region of Kalos feels like a real place to me, with history and culture. That being said though, the games have a few annoying parts, such as the awful companions and no meaningful post-game content, except for the Looker missions, which was honestly one of the best things Pokemon's ever done. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were amazing remakes and brought Hoenn to beautiful 3D. These games look spectacular, and they added a bunch of new content. There's new characters, improved secret bases, new areas, and even an entirely new post-game story. Even if you played the old games, these are 2 awesome Pokemon games that you shouldn't miss out on. Now for Sun and Moon plus their Ultra counterparts. These are set in the new Alola region, based off of Hawaii, and it is one of, if not my favorite region in the entire series. It's just so fun to explore and see all the different areas in it, all the different wildlife, the culture. It feels like a real place. These titles also have some of the strongest post-game content on the system, with the Battle Tree and Ultra Beast missions. Now, these games first released as Sun and Moon, then their Ultra counterparts came later as updated versions. Fundamentally, they're still the same game, but just with new content such as new areas, new Pokemon, and a brand new post-game story. If you have the option between the 2, I pick up the Ultra versions for the new content. However, Sun and Moon still stand in their own right as great games, and you really can't go wrong no matter what version you pick. Alright, so we've been talking a lot about ways that 3DS can replace the Switch in games that are similar to Switch games, but what about the awesome experiences that you can't find on the Switch, but only on the 3DS? Well, the next few games that we're going to be talking about are just that. At least at the filming of this video. They're probably going to release a Fantasy Life 2 the moment that I upload it, but for now, gotta go to the 3DS. In Ever Oasis, you play as the chieftain of your own desert oasis. This game really reminds me of Animal Crossing in the sense that you can get new residents, perform quests to help them, and talk to them to learn more about their story. However, unlike Animal Crossing, you can actually leave town to explore the desert. While you're there, you can find new allies, fight monsters, and collect resources. If an Animal Crossing-like action RPG sounds appealing to you, you'll most likely love this game. Now, I would love to go back in time to see the original pitch for Kid Icarus Uprising. Hey guys, you know that Kid Icarus series we haven't made a game for in 21 years? Well, what if we brought it back, but this time, instead of a 2D platformer, we make it a 3D third-person shooter? I swear if Sakurai wasn't backing this thing, it never would have made off the ground. But it's a good thing it did, because Kid Icarus Uprising is a phenomenal game, with great gameplay, great level design, and extremely clever writing. The one downside is the controls, that are pretty clunky, but after you get used to them, you're fine. This game really is one of the best games on the system, and deserves a lot more attention than what it gets. And hey, if trends continue, then we only have another 13 years till we get another entry in the series. Have you ever been playing Professor Layton and said, geez, this is good, but I wish it was a rhythm game? Well, if that's the case, then I got the game for you. Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure is essentially what you get if you replaced all of Layton's puzzles with rhythm segments, then set the game in Paris. That being said, the game provides enough of its own charm to make the experience feel unique and interesting. All of the rhythm games are done extremely well, and the story and characters, while not too complex, are still very enjoyable. Would I call this game a Layton clone? Yeah, probably, but it's the good type of clone. In terms of quality, it's up there with any of the Layton series, so if you like Layton and you like rhythm games, then this really is a must-play. Speaking of Layton, anybody remember the time he teamed up with a lawyer to fight witches? Yep, that happened. Phoenix Wright vs. Professor Layton is a masterpiece and one of the best entries in both of their respective series. The combination of Layton's puzzle solving and Ace Attorney's trials make for a varied gameplay experience that will keep you engaged for its duration. They really did take the best of both series, so much so that you begin to ask if it was always meant to be this way. Not to mention the great story, fantastic music, and beautifully animated cutscenes. If you like either series, this is a must-play, and if you're new to both series, this is a great place to start. The long-running Kingdom Hearts series finally made its 3DS debut in the form of Dream Drop Distance, and this is a quality title. For those that aren't in the know, Kingdom Hearts is a series of action RPGs where you travel around to different Disney worlds trying to save the universe, and yes, Kingdom Hearts fan, I know that's a gross oversimplification, but you and I both know I don't have time to explain it. This game feels right at home with any of its console counterparts. Its great combat and interesting worlds the series is known for have returned, in addition to new features like Dream Eaters and Flow Motion. Now, fair warning, you may want to ignore the plot outside the Disney worlds. Yes, Kingdom Hearts fans, I know it's good, but this game expects you to know all the previous entries, and if you're not familiar with them, you will get easily confused. And no, you can't just wiki if you're new to the series. These are 20 to 40 hour games whose stories all interconnect, and there were 6 before this one. It's just too much info. But that being said, if you're a series veteran, Disney fan, or just want a really solid action RPG, then Dream Drop Distance is definitely the game for you. Last, but certainly not least, we have Fantasy Life. Fantasy Life is an RPG life sim where the player can change their class freely. And these aren't just pure stat changes either. Each class has certain abilities linked to it, and is designed to fulfill a certain role. You can mine some ore as a miner, then use it to create a sword as a blacksmith, that you can then use to slay monsters as a paladin. There's 12 different lives to play, and each one of them has their own set of challenges that will keep you occupied for a while. By the way, quick tip, when you start your life for the first time, there's a tutorial section that you can skip, but you absolutely should not. These tutorials are expertly crafted segments that introduce you not only to the mechanics, but also to all of the characters specializing in that life. That's another thing, all of the characters are extremely likable, and you can make any of them your companion. Seriously, there's over 60 companions you can unlock. That is insane! Not to mention the sizable world, the clever writing, and the great art style. This game is one of my favorites on the 3DS, and it's a game I would recommend to anyone that owns the system. That's just a few of the 3DS's greatest titles, but there are so many more. Heroes of Ruin, Rune Factory 4, Layton's Mystery Journey, Metroid Samus Returns, and all the Atlas games. Oh, by the way, did I mention this thing can play original DS games? Like, all of them? Yeah, the 3DS really had it all. Now, many people speculate that with the Nintendo Switch's popularity, Nintendo's going to end their line of pure handheld consoles forever and just continue on making hybrid consoles. And honestly, if that's the case, then the 3DS is an excellent swan song to go out on. It's a great console with a quality library of games and left behind a legacy that in many ways the Nintendo Switch is still trying to catch up to. But now the big question. What model should you get? There's a lot of different models of the 3DS, and it can confuse people because each one's slightly different. But don't worry, it's really very simple. All you have to do is dissect the name of the model you're looking at. If you want a C-Stick, built-in amiibo support, a faster processor, and the ability to buy SNES games off the Virtual Console, then you should get a model with new in its name. If you want to play games in 3D, then get one with 3D in its name. If you want a larger screen, then buy one with an XL at the end of its name. And if you want a monstrosity from hell, then buy a regular 2DS. I mean, just look at it.